Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. Welcome back into the Dragon's Den for a surprise Sunday stream. Hey, Free Ethan, how's it going? Where are your whips, sir? I just took a picture of the printer as it stands right now, but yeah, I'm getting ready to get started here. It's a surprise Sunday stream. We're just going to chill out a little bit, do a little bit of the um, do a little bit of work on the Micron Plus for Zura's build. I did get a ton more parts printed, and I did also get all 4 of our Z-axis motors installed. And that was a bit of a chore, but we did wind up using, I had to print off some of the little adapters that I'll show off for the slide in, or yeah, like kind of slide in, angle in 3mm nuts that LDO has available that Zura had a bunch in the box. So with that, we're just going to kind of get into it. I know this is a surprise, so people will pop in or chime in as they can. So for now, once again, I will go to the bench side here real fast. And that appears to be zoomed in some, so we'll zoom it back out. And this is kind of where we're at on the build so far. We've got front to back of our build. We do have all 4 of the Galileo 2 Z motors in. I had to replace the one cover piece, which was actually very easy to do. And then we installed these 4 new corner pieces with the new hex design, and also the lower accent pieces. These are completely different designs. So we put those in and got our bottoms put in place. Where I'm going to start with, hey Eagle the Dragon, how are you? How are you? We're doing well. Weather's good. It's 84 degrees outside and it's a slow Sunday, so I decided to stream a little bit more and see what we couldn't get done on this build. Like I said, I worked and got the Z drives fully installed off stream, so that's good. Now we're just going to kind of get started, and we're actually going to start with going back and doing some of those heat set inserts and as many of the parts as I can. I did wind up printing, like I said, a few of these little guys. Come on. So these little guys, I don't know if you can tell, they have a little ramp on one side. On this side, there's a little ramp. And so what this enables you to do is drop in the little semi-curved nuts, M3 nuts that LDO makes, and then you use tweezers and you bring them together and it'll ride up on top of this. It still gives you the ability to move them around side to side, but this gives you the opportunity of adding in T-nuts to 1515 rails after the fact, which you normally can't do. So what we're going to do now, let me switch over to this view, is we're just going to go through, and like I said, we're going to install some of our heat set inserts. Stop messing with me. There we go. We'll install some of the heat set inserts in our parts. Like, where am I going for my heat sets? We're going to go ahead and get our thing done up here. Bring in a little bit. We're going to start with our front idler pieces, and we're going to put heat set inserts on the back sides of both of these. I went right past all the Z idler stuff again because once again we're using the Galileo 2 Z motors, so there's no need to work through those. And once again, I go most of the way and then I flip it over on something, either this or onto my metal piece to make sure that it's fully nice and flush in there so we don't have any problems threading the screws in later on. All right, there's one. And we'll need these parts anyhow because we will be getting into the gantry today. So these are the front idler bars for the gantry for their beefy idlers. That one is cooled off too fast on me. There we go. Whoops. Where did it go? There it is. Had our normal breakfast with Evil Diesel this morning and had some good conversation, and then came home after that and just been relaxing, and I just kind of got bored. I said, well, let's stream. Okay, this is the XY joiner. Screws or pins. The image across shows the pin variant of the XY joint lower. And the links take you to the pin variant of the STL. If you're using screws in place of pins, your part will look slightly different with two additional smaller holes marked with the green dot. Okay, so this will be one of our lowers. And I think these are the lowers here. And this is the actual one that it's talking about. So we've got our 4 holes that go around this slot. We'll have a heat set, a spot for a screw to go through the top, and then we have 2 smaller holes down here. This is because I'm doing the screw version. I don't believe this is the pin version. Let me double, triple, quadruple check real fast. I know this was a Fabreeko kit, so real fast, let me pull up the Fabreeko Micron kit and just see if the starter kit includes pins or not, or if it even says. It does not say in the listing whether this is set up for pins mod or not, and I do not remember seeing any pins as I've looked through the parts here. So we're going to just continue down the road um, with the standard build, because there's the 5mm shafts, the belt loops. These would have been used for the Z motors. Yeah, so this is not this kit is not configured for pin mod out of the box. So we'll continue on our merry way here. That one and that one. How was your day going, Eagle? And how is your weather out there? Hopefully no fires or anything going on. I have not even been paying attention to the news to see if there were any fires going on out there. Okay. So there we go. I would assume that we need to do both. Yeah, it does say both. So, okay, so we will do both. They're just kind of mirror images of each other. All right, so those two are done. Okay, so now it talks about the gantry Z-chain mounts. Check your parts. There are several variants of these two parts in an attempt to accommodate all manufacturers and suppliers. They consist of 2-hole and 3-hole variants that correspond to how many mounting screws your Z-chain uses. The upper mount then has several threads for different cable glands. Ensure you've printed the correct version before inserting any threaded inserts. Default decision, 2-hole mount are the ones to go with unless your Z-chain supplier got creative. There is a Z-chain in here. I was looking at the potential of not using the Z-chain and doing the note or the Unchained mod, and I'm not going to be able to do that because I didn't have. So the Unchained mod works with, and this is a two one. The Unchained mod works with the corner brackets at the for the bed mounts, and we're using blind joints, so it will not work. And I have not printed these parts because I was specifically planning on not doing the Z-axis or the Z-chain axis. So I will have to print these parts out and get that going. Let me think real fast. 3. Yes, 3's got the inland. Z-chain. Oh, and look at that. They're all accent pieces. Okay, we just need to change a printer. And he had PG glands in here. The question is were they 7s or 9? PG7, PG7, and PG7. So we need the PG7. And we'll go ahead and get that started so that we will be able to come back to this later on once we get to that area. I also did not print the gantry mount yet, and I'm going to have to talk with Zura because I have to look at the way the PZ probe daughter board mounts, because I won't have the ability to extend that wire back. So I'll have to look at the way that connects in there, and we may have to not use his really nice mount. He's got a nice mount for that, for the carriage. And one of these is it in? Thought it was in here. Not there, not there, not there. Anyhow, I know it's down in here somewhere, but there's a nice carriage mount, and oh, I'm just looking right past it. I've looked at buying this mount a couple of times myself. This is a nice machined mount, and then black anodized, and then all the chamfers were added, so it really makes it kind of pop. And the problem with this mount is the mount back here does not allow for mounting of that other board. So we might have to use an actual printed mount, in which case I'm going to talk to Zura because I have some materials on hand that I'm willing to try and print with that may fit the bill as if we use this metal mount. So we're not doing clicky dock because we're doing the PZ probe, so we don't need that one. And I still have not printed the Bowden tube holder. I do have these though. I do have the parts for these. And oh sweet, I put that one in there. So I had already put these two together, and luckily I got it right. So the way this works is you've got the two mounting portions in the back and the one top piece. And your Micron, the smaller notch is at the top, the larger notch is at the bottom. And we're just going to take these two pieces and line them up and push them together. Whoops. Get them lined up, push them together just like that. Now, between the two pieces now, you now have the hole that we're going to put the heat set in, and that heat set's going to melt and join these pieces together as we put these heat sets in. So we stick them together, and then we've got 4 heat sets into each fan, and then 2 coming in from the bottom. And we've got 2 sets of these, so and I'm not going to be able to push these down against the table or whatever, so I'm going to have to be just very slow and deliberate when I do these. Uh, yeah, and I just have not worked that one piece for the PTFE tube is part of the panels, and I haven't printed any of the panel stuff yet. Partly because we're talking about having to make some changes to the initial um, panel selection. Like he was going to go with a different door, and he just got word that that door may not work as intended. So we're going to switch to a different type of door and stuff like that. Okay, so those 8 are in. Now we're going to do the 2 down here. And I will be able to get these down on the uh, table here and make sure that they're nice and flat and flush. All right, so there's one. First, Black Rifle Energy. This is their Freedom Punch. And then the 2 on the bottom. Uh, there's second one done. Now we're going to have some skirt pieces. And yes, I believe it's these. So we've got a through hole and then a spot for an insert. We're going to put an insert there. The through hole is for actually coming up through the bottom to screw this into your, so this is the top of the skirt that goes into the 1515. And then what we're doing here is adding the screw or the heat set that will screw the bottom plate into. Those are done. Now we'll have our screen mount piece. And this was recently printed out today. So this is where our screen's going to mount. And we're going to come in and put in a couple of heat inserts right under here in the back. And this will let us install some accent pieces. There's those two. That over there. And the, I don't think I have longer skirt pieces. Do these have, those will not have any. We do have some tiny smaller ones there. I'll have to go dig that out later. This is for the headless, so this is not used. This is our rear piece here, so we will use this. And there's one that goes in the top of each side. Okay, so those two are in there. So on this piece, I'm going to go ahead and put them on these. These aren't identified yet because these are for, these are part of the skirts that go specifically for the Galileo Z drive. So we will Pop these on there real fast. And this is where I said I may do some of these skirts today. Okay, so those there, those there, one there. Let me see if I can't grab that other one. That fell down. This one and put it out of the way. And now it wanted us to yes, do this one. And this is awesome because it's got the note in here that says we need to put the 4 M3x8 button heads first. And it's actually in the print to put the 4 M3x8 button head cap screws first. So we've got to run these in before we do the heat sets, because after we do the heat sets, we won't be able to access these. So we'll run these in first. And that's simply taking them right through these top 2 holes that are done at angles. Oh, wait. It shows kind of putting them in there, but I think we're going to have to drop these in place and then, yeah, drop it in place and then come in with our driver and screw them through. Thread them through the parts so they stick out the front like that. And once again, we're having to drop these down in the hole and then come back with our driver and drive them through. And we're left with the 2 sticking through. Once again, we're going to take this, drop it down, and kind of wiggle it until it falls in that hole. Come in with our driver, get on the head, and then screw that down through there. And last one. Okay, and now that that's through there, right, we've got all 4 of our screws pushing out. Yep, about the same distance. Now we need to put 2 here and 2 coming in to the side at an angle here. So let's try and work this angle. Two heat sets on the top. Have a small area to grip, very small. Go slow. If you go too fast, you're going to blow right through the top and shove them down to the bottom, and you're going to have a bad day. So light, steady pressure. You can get that set. Okay. There we have it. We've got the two on the top, we've got our 4 screws in, and we've got one on each side. And that appears to be all the heat sets for now. We will have a couple more that we'll put in once we get a few more parts printed. But for now, we are done with those heat sets. We'll get these put up. We'll get this put back over here with the rest of the parts. Okay. And we've done the frame and the Z-axis. And we're on the A and B motors. So more options in a brand new car. As Micron isn't awesome as it is, there are 2 options for A and B motor mounts. You can have a screwed variant. No, it isn't broken. Or you can have a pin variant. We are doing the screwed variant because we don't have the pins in the kit to do the pin variant. Okay. Oh, I see we've got a few people hanging out, lurking in the background. Welcome on in, everybody. I thought I was just sitting here by myself talking with my brother-in-law, but some peeps are here. Okay, A and B motor mounts. A and B motor mount parts. We are going to be using the screwed variants. For the screwed variant, flip the A drive upper upside down and insert 2 M3x25s. A part upper. Okay, now it shows me the pin variant on the right, which will help me identify which one of these is the A part upper, which is the one that has the depression in it, the oval with like the little tick coming off to the side. So this would be my A upper, and we're going to grab 2 M3x25 button head cap screws. Nope, those are all socket heads. Button heads. 12, 20, 25. Okay, based on this, we're putting one there and one there based on the highlighted holes that they're showing us. Still more options than a brand new car. Yes, more options. We spoil you. Now you have the choice of in-stop switches or sensorless homing. I believe we're doing in-stop switches. I know there are in-stop switches in here. I gotta find them because I know I've seen them. Stops. And I mean, these are your basic end stops. Um, we'll we'll use some of ours. Nothing. I mean, they're end stops. Nothing should be wrong, but pre-solder wires onto your end stop switch using 2 outside pins placed into the position. There is a cable tie anchor circled on the image above for securing the wires. Okay. Now, with that said, I will. There is the GBB 15 board that we're going to be using. That board has the ability for end stops to be plugged directly into that board. So I don't need to make these runs massively long. Just long enough on the Y end stop that it can get to that board to be able to be tied in. So let me see what kind of wires I have available to me from previous things. I mean, in essence, this is going to lay in here. This will be our end stop. So end stop somewhere onto a board that's going to mount right here. So we should be fine to basically reuse this piece of wire right here as our end stop rather than having to go. I could also go, and I do have a couple of smaller lengths, I think, of some just standard black 24 gauge FEP wire that we can use as well, which is probably not a bad idea either. Because it's not power, it's just a sensor, so maybe we'll just do that instead. Once again, we'll go a little long, we'll cut that, we'll make that doable, and yeah, that'll work. Length 1, length 2. Length 2 will be a little bit longer. And the reason for that is it will be, I'm going to set this over here before I fall over it. It's going to be identifying which one is the actual sensor pin, so to speak. Not that it really matters a whole heck of a lot because it's an end stop, and all we have to do is logically change the end stop from, uh, with a bang command. What was I looking for? Oh, there we go. We need that. We need these. Strip a little bit of the wire. Strip a little bit of the wire. And as is pretty standard with our end stop, we don't need that center pin, and I'm going to cut it off just to get it out of our way. So it's out of the way and not going to cause us any problems or issues. And the longer wire, I will want to be the one on the where the plunger is. Now we just need to tin everything up and solder things together. A little solder onto our tip always conducts the heat a little bit better. We'll tin our wires. We'll tin our legs. And it should just be a matter of lining up the wires in the legs and applying just a little bit of heat. One down, one to go. All right. We'll worry about the X end stop once we're doing our tool head. We'll need to put some heat shrink tubing on this. And we just need to protect the wires from any damage. Hey, Shrimp Father, how's it going, friend? Hope you're doing well today. I got a little bored, decided to go ahead and work on the Micron some more today. Not saying I'm trying to race Steve Bills, because I'm not. I'm actually looking at him to provide me some insight on some gotchas on the R1 build. I did see that he has some interesting new files, or some ones that he was using on his build, that I'm going to see if he can't post or provide. But there's our YN stop, and you're going to say, that's pretty short wire. Well, once again, remember, this is going to be one of our motors. Shortest length of extrusion will be the extrusion between the two motor mounts. And there's going to be a GBB 15 board that mounts here. In fact, let me see if I've got that board available. This is an interesting little board. CAN bus, SSR, power supply. Is it in the other box? Apparently so. It might be in there. I don't know. Leviathan. Lights. Wires, chain flat. Not in there. Tell you what, Zura's spoiling me by having this stuff sort of all laid out and nice. Because now I'm like going through trying to find things, and I'm not going to say losing my mind, but it's kind of like a, wow, this is something different as far as me having to dig through everything, especially after doing Chewy's build, where we had to go find a bunch of parts here and there. All right, we've got some RGBW sequins. More sequins, some regular lights. TFE tube. Ah, here we go. Yeah, so this little guy here, and it comes with a thermally conductive kind of sticky pad. You see this a lot on heat sinks. And that is because this little board right here, which has a lot of pins on the back, is actually going to get attached directly with that strip to this 5015. Of course, it's going to come up on the underside, but we have USB for initial communication and flashing. We'll have, I think, USB, there's our boot and reset. So this is CAN bus in and CAN bus out. So we're going to be able to bring our CAN bus into this board, run our two motors off of this board, our B&A motor, and then come off of this to go up to our umbilical to the tool head board, which is an EBB 36. And this is nice enough that it has end stops on for both of these. We'll have a end stop and a thermistor capability for each of these motors. So that's pretty neat. So we can actually run a like a chamber thermistor through this if we're not going to use motor thermistors and stuff like that. Yeah, this is the first time I've seen them, and I'm like, why would you use this? But it makes perfect sense for this application. So with this mounted somewhere in here, this right there, and this going to be our end stop. I mean, I don't need it to go very far to feed over to this board. So yeah, that is the plan. Get back in there. You get back in there and you stay somewhere nicely tucked out of the way. All right. So this end stop here, we want the end stop to be opening down, so it's going to be kind of opening to the top right now. And there's an interesting slot there. So it kind of necks down right there. So you can see that this is going to sit in there pretty nicely, and then it necks down right around the wires. And there's a zip tie point right here where we can zip tie these wires so that they're coming directly over this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of squeeze these down together. And maybe a little bit to the right. Lay that in there. And once again, we have a spot for a zip tie. Whew. Don't know. That's going to be a tiny, tiny zip tie. Those are going to be too big. Where do I have my tiny, tiny ones? So these are my tiny, tiny zip ties, but half the time they don't latch. They just strip right out. So we'll see. Hopefully I can get one of these to work. And we'll zip tie both of the wires, not just one of them. But I hope everybody's having a good day. Like I said, I just felt the need to stream today for no other reason than why not. Now, they don't tell me where to put the head of that zip tie, so I'm going to try and put it right down there. That should be, putting the head of the zip tie right there should be fine, because once again our 50-15 15-15 is going right there. So the head of that zip tie will still be out of the way, because any cable path would go right in this gap right here. So, and this is going to lay the cable right down in the path there. So that should be good. Like I said, we'll worry about this later on. Let's get our screws back in there in the right spot. Hey, we get to do